Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us for Access City Council. I'm your host, City of Las Vegas Communications Director, David Riggleman. Coming up on this show, there's a lot going on in the historic West Side. 2 new beautiful signs were installed to greet those entering the area, and ground breaks on the Historic Westside Legacy Park. We're going to tell you all about it. Here to discuss these topics and much more is the councilman who represents Ward 5, of course, it's Cedric Crear. Councilman, welcome back. Happy New Year. Great to see you. It's our first show of 2021. How are you? It is.
I am just so happy that 2020 is over with.
Me too. I second that. I'll third that.
Yeah, we've been talking about this moment for a long time.
Exactly.
And we have finally gotten through 2020, and we are heading into 2021. And a lot of promising things and a lot of things to be blessed about moving into the new year.
Keep our fingers crossed. Exactly. It's got to be better than last year for sure.
Yes.
So, Councilman, you know Ward 5 like the back of your hand. Heck, you grew up there and lived there most of your life. So here on the map is Ward 5, for those of you not as well versed in the geography of the area as Councilman Crear. But if you live in this area or work in this area, then you are in the city limits of the city of Las Vegas. And of course, if you're a resident there, you're represented by Cedric Crear on the city council. Love this area because it encompasses our downtown, which is there on the east side of the map, but it goes all the way to the northwest too, and a little bit of everything in between. So
it's a very diversified ward as well. You know, we have 3 area commands, so metro area commands, downtown area command, Bolden, and northwest area command.
That all cover.
They all cover, supersede, and we have a inner core. We have a very rural community part of it, which you wouldn't think is in the city, but
it's true.
Horses,
and that kind of
livestock, and so we represent a very wide variety of the city, and it's great. And I'm blessed to serve in that community.
Well, and I think it's exciting. Got to be exciting for you because you grew up in Ward 5.
No doubt about
it.
So
that's something to go from being a kid there now to being a city councilman. It's good stuff. So along those lines, we're going to talk about this Legacy Park right off the back. You posted this on Facebook. You said, such an amazing day as we broke ground on the historic Westside Legacy Park. This is the day that it occurred, December 12th. Councilman, tell everybody what this project is if they're not familiar.
So the park is a collaboration between the city and the county, really more specific between myself and former Commissioner Weekly and now Commissioner McCurdy, where we wanted to find a way to highlight those leaders that have come before us that made a huge impact within our community, whose shoulders we stand on today. And we've done that. We are building a very, very beautiful park. I mean, it is going to be outstanding, and it's going to highlight, originally we have 36 individuals who are part of the inaugural class that's going in to be honored. And then every year we're going to bring in more and more people. But we've done a great job with the design.
These are some renditions of what it's going to look like.
The park is really going to be beautiful. And so this first cohort of individuals, I think, are beyond reproach of the impact that they've made in our community.
The park is really going to be a blend of honoring those who've made an impact and left a legacy, hence the name, but it's also a great history lesson as you go through it as well.
Absolutely right. You'll be able to, there's some unique features of the park. You'll be able to walk through and see some of the history that has been laid down within the Historic Westside. We're going to have the ability for people to rent out the space, and if they want to have a function there, there's an AV system there, and it really is going to be interactive. We want kids to come. We want schools to come. We want young kids, adults to come. And also, it also serves as green space for our Enterprise Park, which is our business development park.
I was going to say this, tell everybody where it's located.
Right on Mount Moriah, Washington, and MOK, and Lake Mead and MOK, right behind the Starbucks at Pollo Loco, right in that area. And you'll see that there's the Fresenius kidney facility right there. Grits Cafe is there, the FBI building. And if you look at that area, there was no green space. So people were walking over to Starbucks, grab a cup of coffee on a beautiful day, go grab some lunch. Now they can come back, sit in an area outside, get some sun, rejuvenate, learn some history, and then go back to their respective offices as well.
Yeah, it's exciting. People well known in the community, LaBertha Johnson, for example,
Bob
one
and
of the
Anna
36.
Bailey, Reverend Scott. The list is long. Charles West, Charles Keller. And the interesting part about it, too, from growing up in Las Vegas, I knew a lot of those people.
I know you did.
I spent a lot of time with them. Charles West was the first black doctor in Nevada who brought my father to Las Vegas.
Who's the second black doctor, who's also being recognized at Legacy Park, and rightfully so.
Well, we had a committee that...
Oh, of course.
Yeah, and then the committee chose my parents to go into the park, which I thought was outstanding. I'm as floored as everybody else who have gotten in. But if you look back at the people that are there, they've made huge impacts.
Yeah.
I don't think there's one person on that list that someone's going to say, oh, well, they shouldn't be in there.
No, of course not.
And we are going to bring in more people every year. We'll have an opportunity for others to come in. But this first cohort was just beyond reproach of who's going to go in. And Charles Keller taught me how to swim when I was a kid. My brother and I used to walk around to his house, and he literally put us in his pool and taught us and spent time with us over the course of time.
I know.
It's just,
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Councilman, I think what is hard for, I think, a lot of us to get our heads around is the fact that prior to, 1960, African Americans in this community pretty much had to live on the historic West Side. That was where they had to go.
Yeah.
And we were not an integrated city then.
We weren't. And you look back on it.
Imagine that.
It's hard to imagine because it wasn't really that long ago.
No.
And, my father's first office is right next to the Moulin Rouge site on Bonanza. There's a building there now right next to the Dairy King. And I used to get my hair cut on Jackson Avenue at Dixon's Barbershop. We used to go to Hamburger Heaven. I was baptized at Zion. I mean, that was our community. And so many people had never been out of the historic West Side before because you couldn't go. You would go to work if you worked on a strip. You would leave out the back door, and then you would come home, and then the entertainers would have to perform, make money for those casinos, but they couldn't stay in the casinos. And then they would go over to some boarding houses or hotels on the historic West Side.
So this Legacy Park really is a history lesson for all of us.
Yeah, and there's going to be some cool, unique features, which I'm not going to release. I'm not going to tell you about, but we've got some stuff planned that is going to be very, very cool. That'll be a big surprise to the community.
Love it, and I'm glad the city's a part of all of that. And then, Councilman, right along those same lines, we have some new signage as you come into the historic West Side. This is very, very cool. We're going to show you this right now. When you come in, hey, you're going to know now that you are in the historic West Side. And again, Councilman, for people who are new here, don't know the history of the historic West Side, it's going to prompt those wheels turning in their head. Well, why is this significant? Why has this now become such an important thing to recognize in our community?
Well, first, let me thank Harold Bradford and Associates, who's a product of the Historic West Side, for creating these great monument signs. I have to give a thank you to Mike Jensen, who was our Director of Public Works, who was absolutely fantastic. In DOT, working with them to get the right of way, and as a part of Project Neon. Many people have heard about the Historic West Side, but they may or may not know where it's located, or as they're driving through, they may not realize that I am actually in the Historic West Side. And so what we wanted to do, as you saw exits off the I-15 and the 95 in different areas and how they beautify them, we wanted to do something unique, something different, to let people know that you're here. And so that is taking place with those two big monument signs, which they're bigger and nicer than I thought they were.
Pretty cool. Harold Bradford did a beautiful job.
Did an amazing job. They are going to light up at night as well. And then as you're driving through the Historic West Side, we've taken that design and we've created these medallions, we call them, which will be on top of street signs. And as you're within the Historic West Side, you'll know that you're within the Historic West Side. So there's an egress and ingress. While you're there, you know you're there. And then we're partnering with Lamar Outdoor Advertising, who does billboards. And we're building a parquet sign, which is a big billboard that'll take place at Washington and I-15 at the exit. And that has been strategically designed where on the top of the header it says West Side and a jazzy theme as well. So you get off at 15, you'll know that you're entering the Historic West Side as well. And I think it's important for people to know. Our area, the Historic West Side, is one of the most historic parts of the city.
Very much so.
Downtown, the Strip, I think the Historic West Side, you can argue that in those particular order, that it is just as impactful as it is in those other parts of the city.
I couldn't completely agree, Councilman. And what I love about it, too, is when we designate certain areas of the city, the Fremont Street East District, we're going to talk about that next, the Arts District, the Brewery District, the Historic West Side. People like to know kind of where they are, gives them kind of a sense of place, but I think, too, people love kind of the historical element that ties in with that, too. I'm in the historic downtown. I'm in the historic West Side. This is an area where Las Vegas started, the Springs Preserve. This is where the springs were where Las Vegas began. Yeah. I think people love connecting with the past like that.
They do. So, in the area that I live in, it was built in the 40s, Bonanza Village it's called, and the first advertisement to sell homes in that area showed a cowboy with a horse and they market it as, water your horse with the springs that run through before you hit the downtown.
Yeah, that's something.
Yeah, and so that is a part of the history, and the
Sure.
Springs Preserve, like you said,
Yeah.
and those running springs that are coming through there,
Yeah.
and people would, spend a lot of time in those springs, and it's just great. We have so much history in our city.
We do.
In relatively a young city, but there's so much history, and we need to do a better job of highlighting that.
I agree. We got a lot of newcomers here, Councilman, that don't know any
Yeah.
of that, and so it's our
Yeah.
job to help educate
No doubt
them on
about
that.
it.
Yeah.
And we've sort of gotten past the stigma that I always had growing up. You mean you actually live in Las Vegas?
Right. And
What do you
were
live in a
born
hotel?
here?
Yeah. What do you live in the Sands? Or you live in a DI?
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
And I said, no, actually, we have parents
we
have a
live in
house
a
there. I
house
got a
and,
house.
you know,
And we have a
go to
yard.
school and church and
Yeah, we
everything,
go to
yeah.
yard. I got a
So-
dog.
Yeah.
And so people, we've gotten past that stigma. But for those that have gone through that, realize that our history is rich and it's
Sure.
deep, and it's very diversified.
Yeah, it is.
Mm-hmm.
People have called Las Vegas the melting pot of the melting pot, and I think that's very accurate.
I
So,
agree.
yeah.
I agree. And so we have a lot to tell. I think we need to do a better job of telling it, and we will.
Yeah.
I have faith. in
Legacy
the city
Park's
we're
going to help.
Legacy
help do
Park
that,
will
and
definitely
the
do
signs,
that.
exactly.
Yeah. And Legacy Park is going to drive people from, I think, who are looking for access and looking for history of the city are going to come there.
Sure.
It'll be a focal point, and it's going to be interactive also, where you can take your phone and go to a website and you can get a deep dive
cool.
of who the people are and where they're coming from.
Learn
and
more about them.
Learn more
That's
about
awesome.
it.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be great. Allie and our arts department is doing a great job, and her team of putting this together and curating it.
Yeah.
So shout out to Allie, and thank you for all the work
Clay
that
T.
she's
White
done.
from UNLV has been a big
A
player
big
in all this,
proponent,
helping
no doubt about
get
it.
all the history.
We had Ramon Savoy, Clay T. White, and Jackie Brantley
Yeah.
as part of the committee for the park, who decided to go in, and you couldn't ask for
Yeah.
three more
Exactly.
diversified historic persons that know about this history and that have been a part of it.
And it's accurate too. Their story, their version
great.
is going to be spot on.
I thank
so,
them a lot for taking on that challenge. They did
Ditto.
a fantastic job.
Councilman, speaking of historic areas, Fremont East, this was a part of our mainstay in the downtown. You posted this on Facebook. You said Fremont East has a whole new look, and what you're referring to here, Councilman, is all of the renovation that we've done along Fremont East, basically east of about, 7th or 8th Street as you go farther, 9th Street as you go farther to the east. Look at all the changes we've made. Widened sidewalks, trees, we've restored old historic signs, landmarks along the way. And this is a walk down memory lane as well.
No doubt, and I share this area with Councilwoman Diaz, and a lot of the east is her going down, but we do have some of it in Ward 5. And I think what the city has done, once again, is really been creative. How do you upgrade, make things nicer, but also maintain
Exactly, that
the
historic connection.
historic
Yeah,
connection, the
yeah.
richness of what it was? Because, once again, a person like me realized you used to drive down Fremont Street.
When I first moved here, you could drive on
Yeah,
it. Exactly.
Tom Jerbick, who's Brad Jerbick's brother,
Right.
they own the jewelry store there.
That's right.
And I bought my wife's engagement ring
I've heard that
and
story.
wedding ring from Tom
Yeah.
there. And the funny thing about it is that Tom gave me credit because I walked in with a friend of mine. He didn't know me. If he gave me credit, and I paid him off, which is great. But that's how Vegas was.
I know. Back it was.
You walk in.
It was like more like a town
Yeah.
versus a big city. Like
Yeah,
we are
I walked
today,
in, a friend of mine, it wasn't like, a friend of mine who knew Tom and said, hey, he needs an engagement ring, they have a lot of money. I used to get a little yellow receipt. I used to go down and pay him. It wasn't like you went online and paid him. I used to go down to the store and pay him every month. I get a little yellow receipt that said how much I paid and how much I owed. And so that's the city that I know. So it's great to see that history being maintained and not just torn down and rebuilt. There is a time and place for that. There are life for many things. But we've done a fantastic job of reinvigorating that area. And I think that's going to bring in more business. It's going to bring in more commerce, more housing, more restaurants, and it's going to be fantastic.
Absolutely.
I love it. I'm a big fan of downtown.
And speaking of new businesses, you got a new business. Dave's Barbecue
Yeah.
opened back on November 10th. That's been the last time you were on the show with us. Love to see a person opening a business during a pandemic. Now that is
Yeah.
somebody who's got confidence in what they're able to do.
Yeah, and Dave's is great. It's located right on the corner of Decatur and Lake Mead. He's had barbecue before. It's not his first time doing it. He just moved into this site. We went in there and want to give him some props and highlight his business. I ended up buying a bunch of food that took one of my family, and I can attest firsthand that the food is great.
Okay, I love barbecue, so I got to go see Dave.
Yes, it's one of those things where you say, who's got some good barbecue around? And you think about it when you're in that mood for barbecue, especially if you don't want to cook it yourself. And Dave's is great. I urge you to go check it out. Great service, great guy.
Looks like he's being very safe there. I see the plexiglass and all the other precautions
He does.
in place. That's
Yeah,
great.
well,
Thank you, Dave.
he also qualified for our grants that we put in for our pandemic grants, so $4,000 that we helped out with that. So here's another example of a business that took advantage of those grants that we put out in the community.
Businesses could buy PPE,
Yep.
whatever, the plexiglass screens, and obviously Dave took advantage of that.
He did, and amongst others, those grants went quickly, but it was great that the city came together to try to help businesses to make that transition. I know it helped out a lot of small businesses that I know of in my community, as well as around the city.
Well, COVID has certainly dominated our lives over the last year or so. And we've done what we could here at the city to help. We should mention if some free COVID resources were given out at Doolittle.
Yeah.
You were a big part of this, Councilman, making sure that people got some things that they needed. There were awfully, all of a sudden, so many things became hard to find during the pandemic, and so we were trying to help out here. So.
Well, this is great. Also, this is another partnership with Commissioner McCurdy in the county to bring in the Major League Baseball Players Alliance, and this is a fantastic program that Major League Baseball has put together, where they actually have current and former players contribute to this foundation that goes around the country, and they have this big truck that they go and they set up shop in communities and they hand out not only baseball supplies to kids, which is, and it wasn't like it was foo-foo stuff. They were real leather gloves, baseballs, real bats that were there. We gave out COVID resources, bags that were there. Yep. The line was wrapped around Doolittle. It was fantastic.
Yeah, it was a big deal.
Yeah, and there were actual Major League Baseball players there. It wasn't like it was some...
I've heard people were talking about it was just a nice distraction during the pandemic too.
Yes.
To have these athletes come in the off season and put a smile on people's face when we could all really use one.
Yep,
so.
and the cool thing is that we're going to work with them throughout the course of a year to provide more services back in our community. So hopefully it won't be it is the first time we've partnered with them. It's a new program, but we want to do more with them. Yeah. So we've been in contact with them and going to figure out how we can do more.
It's a wonderful partnership.
Yeah, great Major League Baseball.
They got out, helped get the word out on baseball, and at the same time handed out much needed supplies to the community too. So
great
good stuff. And Councilman, you posted this on Facebook as well. You said, today we kicked off the COVID vaccination center at Cashman Center, and this was a big deal, Councilman. This Cashman Center is obviously a city facility owned by the city, and we've made it available to the county, the health district, the National Guard. We've been doing testing there. And now vaccinations will also be given out there.
Yeah, Cashman is a true community resource. And we had our ISOQ facility there.
Yeah, that's true.
That was there that we set up along with the county. We have been doing testing at Cashman for weeks now.
Long time.
And that has been going well, very efficient. We have now are giving out vaccinations, and you see that the National Guard there. I have to give a special shout out to General Andre Berry, who heads up the National Guard for the state of Nevada, who is doing an excellent job of getting our community the services that we need. Those men and women that are there are doing amazing work. They have a very efficient system. It's going great. I know that we are working to get more vaccines into the community.
Absolutely.
For those that are still looking for times and where to go, I urge you to go to Southern Nevada Health District's website. They also just launched a info line. You can get that there. You can call in and find out information about it. And so this is a evolving process. I know that sometimes it can be cumbersome, but I think we're all trying to do the best that we can to not only get testing and to get the vaccination out into the community. I urge people to take the vaccination.
Yep.
I have taken it. I haven't had any issues besides a sore arm. Look forward to taking the second one soon in a few weeks. I think that it's important that we dispel these rumors
there are
that it's not healthy.
A lot of myths about the
vaccine.
vaccine.
We need more people to take the vaccine so that we can get to that herd immunity, call it. The more people that take the vaccine, the better off we're going to be, and the quicker we can get back to some form of normalcy, especially with our businesses.
Looking forward.
And getting our tourism back, get our kids back in school, make sure our seniors are safe. I urge everyone to get the vaccine.
I'll give everybody some information here. People 70 and older now, you are eligible to get the vaccination right away. First responders, teachers, people in the classification of Tier 2, these are going to be essential government workers, are also in that tier. So go onto the CDC website or the Southern Nevada Health District website. All that information is on there. There's also good information, Councilman, in addition to Cashman Center that we just showed. There are other locations within the community where you can get a vaccine.
Yeah, I know people that have gotten the vaccine at the Encore. Thank you to them for setting up services. UNLV, I know, has services for the NSHE team, and I know they're setting up more. And so I just urge people to get the vaccine. I think it's important. I haven't had any issues, and we will hope and pray that all goes according to plan with the vaccine. I have faith in it. I trust it. And I just think that we need to get our community back where we want it to be.
Well said, well said. Southern Nevada Health District website. Again, folks, if you're interested in information on who's eligible right now and also how to get signed up for a vaccination if you are eligible at this point. Councilman, we're into the new year, 2021, but we want to look back real quick at the holiday season. You haven't been on the show here in a little while, so you posted this on Facebook. You said, our team of elves was out today delivering backpacks of books to children of Ward 5, and you literally are dressed as elves there. I like that, you know. You guys weren't kidding.
Well, you know, the gift that we gave out were books. And they were special books geared for kids, and I think it's important that we don't forget the fact that there are a lot of kids who are now not in school. We delivered these books to the kids, and they're so excited. You know, I think one of the best gifts you can ever give to any kid is a book. It's not only is it informative, it's fun, but it's educational. And so I give a big thank you to our community services team that went out with us to give those books out, Dr. Tammy Malledge and others who created this program, something we're going to continue to do every year. You know, books are fantastic. It's one of the best gifts you can ever get.
Teacher told me one time, your success in school will be completely dictated by how well primarily you read and write. And that's the first step. And of course, arithmetic and math and all those things follow. But the essentials were being able to read and write. And so,
you know, I'm a reader. I didn't grow up being a reader. I became a reader. And I think that the key was to find something that you like to read.
Councilman. You got to find something you enjoy reading. Otherwise, it's drudgery, right?
It is drudgery. You know, when you start reading things that you have no interest in, that doesn't capture your attention, then I think that you're doing yourself a disservice because you're sort of forcing yourself to do it. And that's not fun.
And your mind begins to wander because you're really not interested in what you're reading.
Find out something that you like. If Harry Potter, or if it's, you know, some educational something.
What do you like? What got you reading?
So I read something fun, and then I'll read something that's more educational. I kind of will try to better myself by educational. And so I've read everything from the Crazy Rich Asian books, all three of them.
Really?
Oh, yeah, to the new Jim Crow, to the new book by Isabella Wilkerson, Caste, which talks about the caste system in our society.
Interesting.
And is around the world. I'm reading a great book by Guyanian woman, Transcended Kingdoms, and I read her first book, Homecoming. She's Guyanian, but she grew up in Alabama, and she's talking about her story that she's written.
See, I love books like that. I love histories. You know, somebody's real story, whether they're famous or otherwise. I love historical pieces.
And you know what I used to do too? I used to read my kids' books. So if my kids are reading a book, I would read it, and so that I would be able to, you know, converse with them. So you know, the kids' books are out. And they weren't really kids, but more teen books. And we would have a conversation about them. And some of them became movies. The Fault in My Stars is a good example.
That's really good idea. That's
and also became a movie.
And
so they read the book.
Right.
I read the book.
And then you could compare the movie.
And then we saw the movie.
Was it accurate or not?
Never.
They should have stuck to the book.
The book is always better.
It's always true.
It's not even 99% better. It's 110%.
There you go.
The books are always better than the movies. And there's no offense to the movies, but the books are always better.
Exactly. It's because the theater of the mind is much better than the screen can ever do.
I think the last one I did was The Hate You Give. And that turned into, actually, I didn't know this, but that turned into a movie as well. And the book was lying at my house. My kids had read it. It was there. And I said, I'm going to read this. And so I read it, and we had a great conversation.
Turned into a reader there, young
man. I am. I order books. And then, you know, it's also fun is to support your local bookstores.
Yeah.
I know that sometimes it's very easy just to order off of these huge platforms, Amazons, and get the
Nice
books.
to have something in your hand.
We have the Writer's Block, which is downtown, which is fantastic. You can go in there, buy a book, or you can order it online. And so I urge you to support your local bookstores as well.
Good. Well, Councilman, that would be a gift to them. And speaking of that, Yuletide Magic 2020, you celebrated that back. That took place on December 20th, and right around the holiday time there. And what was this effort, Councilman? Looks like we're giving away.
Well, this particular effort is with the Black elected officials, where we gave out Christmas gifts and supplies. That diaper bank is amazing too, where we were over Nevada Partners and we gave out toys and gifts for the community. The diaper bank is amazing. Something you don't think about. They give out diapers to families. You think that might not be a need, but lo and behold,
they're expensive.
They're expensive, and it's a huge need. So
and
it's
you
a
go through them
nonprofit.
left and right. Yeah.
You just don't think about it. We all have, if you had kids, you know how many diapers you go through.
You get
what
it.
an amazing organization, and they've dedicated themselves to getting diapers into the community. And so that was a great event that we had. We did do the Yuletide Magic, which we'll talk about in a second, but it was just fantastic.
I'm proud of you, Councilman. That's good stuff. And then you also, too, you partnered up with the Zelza Shrine. You posted this on Facebook. You said, amazing morning handing out gifts to kids with the Zelza Shrine Temple for the Secret Santa Project right there in Ward 5. And it looks like some good toys are getting handed out here.
And we've done this annually with the Zelza Shrine. They do an awesome job of organizing, and we come in and help them out and supply them with toys as well as some other resources. Kudos to our city employees that are out there, the Metro that were there, our marshals that were there, all the volunteers that were there. Once again, this is an event where we had carts wrapped around the building. It was fantastic.
I'm glad that people got some cheer in a year that wasn't so cheerful. But we're into 2021 now.
Yes,
so
we are.
I like that. Well, Councilman, unfortunately, we're just about out of time here. But we want to tell everybody out there, hey, we always want to hear from you. So if you have something you'd like to share with Councilman Cedric Crear, you can always find him on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. He is a social media warrior. And you can also contact the Councilman by picking up the phone. We still do that here, too, 702-229-6405, or you can send him an email. His address is ccrear, that's C-R-E-A-R, at lasvegasnevada.gov, and he or his wonderful staff, they will get right back to you because they always do. So,
Thank you, David.
Job, Councilman.
Great.
Good to see you.
Hard to believe 6 weeks goes by so fast.
It does. It does. It's been a little longer now because of holidays and everything else, but we're back on a 6-week track now.
We are back, and a lot going on. We'll have a lot to talk about next time.
It's going to be exciting. Looking forward. A lot going on in Ward 5. It's good stuff. So good to see you. Thank you so much. Great work. And don't miss our next show beginning on February 11th with Ward 6 City Councilwoman Michelle Fiore. By the way, you can catch all of our KCLV shows on Apple TV, Roku, and Amazon Fire now. And don't forget, you can watch us live on the internet at kclv.tv. Thanks for joining us, everyone. We'll see you next time around. Please stay safe out there.